Hey guys, welcome to the channel. By request and very popular request, I am going to be sharing with you guys my stops for my girls when they are reading content. And it's not just the content that they need to stop on. It is the process that has led us to where we are with my older two daughters and the books that we are reading. My name is Morgan. If this is your first time, welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. My disclaimer is, everyone stops and what you do and don't want your children to read in different stages of their lives. It's all going to be different. So I'm really not going to give a ton of specific details about what we allow our girls to read, but we share books on here all the time and they're not reading anything outside of those. So that'll kind of give you an idea of how we navigate different book choices. And that is going to change as they get older, because we're laying a foundation for them right now. This is the stage of foundational growth, development, morals and values, our beliefs, all the things are encompassed in there. I'm also going to say this, and people may say, what in the world? But we do not teach our girls things ahead of time. There are some things that we do, of course, and I'm talking about things of the world that they may potentially encounter. There are just some things that we don't go ahead and teach them. One thing that I will share with you is I did not give my girls a list of every cuss word. Is it cuss or curse, depending on where you're from? But I do not give our girls a list of every cuss word that they may encounter. I don't do that and say, here, memorize these words and then don't say them. That's not how we approach language, okay? We approach language on a need to know basis only. We are also very particular about who our children are exposed to, who they are around, the characters of the people that they are around. We are very particular about that. Now, you guys know that we do not shelter our children. They get out and they get to experience tons within the world. But we're just really particular about who they spend their time with and who we allow to spend time with our children. I will say that we do teach our girls all of the pet names for body parts. We teach textbook along with pet, because those terms can also be used against our children. So just to give you guys a baseline, there are just some things that we address those when they happen, and I call those character building moments, teaching moments, on the job training. Like those things, when they come about, we have a moment pretty soon after to discuss those and clear up anything. All right, moving on to my specific steps that we have taken over the years to help prepare our girls for the books that they choose to read and how to decipher if it's something for them. Number one, people always say this. They say, don't judge a book by its cover. However, in this situation, that is not the case. We judge books based on the cover because that is the first thing that you see. And I'm sorry, but sometimes the covers of books, they can send mixed messages, right? But we do look at books, and if I look at a book and the cover of it gives me some, I'm gonna say some demonic type of feelings, then it is a no-go. I'm not looking into it any further. We come across a lot of books because I am a board member for a nonprofit organization that gives out books to children all the time. We get donations from tons of bookstores and people and schools and other organizations that are collecting books and don't need them. We give out books to athletes. The name of the organization is Youth First. I will put a link down below if you are interested in anything about it. However, when we come across all of those books, we have to sort through them and decide if these are books that we want to pass on to other children in other households. And yes, we are dictating what those other households are reading by sorting through and saying, no, this is not the book that we want to hand out, or yes, this is. But we are all very like-minded on this board and we agree with our processes, but my girls are a part of that. We sort through hundreds of books all the time. And so this started this process 3 years ago, and I was thinking they need to know some of these covers of books are not okay. So we do judge books by the cover. The second thing is read the synopsis of the book. My girls will read a synopsis. We go to bookstores all the time. As I said, we come across tons of books and they will read the synopsis of the book. If something seems off about it, they don't like the content. I mean, this could even be for a book that they feel like is boring, right? It's okay. Put it down. You don't have to read it. There are millions of books in this world that you can read. So that is the second step, is we read the synopsis of the book. The third thing that I have my girls do is look in the book. If pictures are in the book, that is the next determining factor as to whether or not this is something that they may be interested in. That does not apply to every book. There are some chapter books. We're talking about graphic novels are typically the thing for my oldest girls, and they can look in graphic novels and kind of see what is going on in these pictures. Is this something that makes me comfortable, makes me want to read it more? Does this go against our morals and values that we've been taught within our home? My oldest two daughters are at that stage where they know a lot, if not all, of how we feel and what we believe in our home. And yes, it is an ever-growing process. We have conversations all the time, but they're at the stage where they're going to have to start making decisions. And as parents, we want to allow them the freedom to do so with boundaries. Not super heavy restrictive, but here's the guide that you've been given. Now you go out and try to see how you can stick with that guide. If you have questions, I'm here. So it's kind of like I'm behind them as they're going, making these choices in life. And I'm there if they need me. If they don't need me, it's fine. That is my mentality when it comes to parenting. And so that is the same approach that I take with these books. If they look at a book and they're like, I don't really like how these pictures look, they make me uncomfortable, or I don't really understand the message that they're trying to send in these pictures, it's a no-go. We will have a discussion about that, and they are not required to read it, okay? So the fourth thing is the content of the book. And there's a lot of things that fall under content of books. But if my girls are reading a book in the store, right? So picture this, we're in the store browsing books. We're trying to figure out if there's something that they want. I allow them to do that because I don't always want to pick out every single book for them. But if they're reading a book and there's tons of words that they don't know, that they don't understand, this is probably not the book for you. If you see any of the words that you have been taught or have come across in this book, that is not the book for you. If the content of the book, you read a few sentences on this page and this page and this page, and it does not align with what you have been taught in our home, that is not the book for you. We do this every single time we go and look for books. Now, a lot of the books that I do find for my girls, I vet them very carefully online. There's Common Sense Media. I look at Amazon reviews. If the book is on christianbooks.com or thrift books, I look at reviews everywhere. I Google and look them up, but Common Sense Media gives you details. It's not just for books, but it gives you details about what you are reading. One thing that I came across in looking for curriculum is that Meadow, on their books and their, books that they have for different curricula, they tell you on there if the book contains content that you may or may not want for your child. And I love that. I think that's awesome because they're putting it out there and then you can decide if that is something that you want to look at. Now, it's hard, y'all. We all know this. Content within books is challenging, and I feel like writers, they are getting very crafty with how they slide in different things. So 100% you're gonna miss something. Your children are going to miss something, you guys. I just had someone comment on one of my other book videos and say how thrilled they were to read a book, and then on page 3 there was some content that they did not agree with for their child, a sentence on there. We completely missed that. My children have read that book and they didn't know anything about it. That was a teaching moment for our home. We talked specifically about that content and what that looks like, and now they are able to recognize it. And that is what I call the on-the-job training, teaching in the moment sort of things, so that our girls are prepared for those types of things. At this moment, those are not things that I want them to read about on a regular basis. And of course, this one I feel like is the absolute most important thing, is if you are reading something and it gives you uncomfortable feelings. Uncomfortable feelings like you're mad, you're scared, you're confused. This is a book that we need to talk about. Bring this book to me so that we can discuss it and decide if you need to continue reading this book. Those are things that we have talked about with our girls, and there have been a few books that they have brought to me and they're like, I don't know, I feel weird about this book. And I'm like, explain to me why. We talk about those things and that book leaves, because I don't want them to continue to read any books. God's word says, guard your minds, guard your heart. And I definitely believe that our children, as they are growing, if they continue to put certain content in all the time, and they consume that content, then that is what they will start to put out. And I don't want that for my girls. So we are very selective about what they put in so that they can put out positive things. So when we're talking about content in books, they learn a lot of lessons from everyday life. And when those situations arise, we discuss them. One example that I will share here is my oldest daughter went to a writer's workshop. And at the workshop, they were asked to introduce themselves with their name and their preferred pronoun. We had not talked about preferred pronouns within our home. And so because she was like the 7th or 8th person to do this, by the time they got to her, she knew what she needed to say. But we were not in the car 15 seconds after leaving that writer's workshop before my daughter asked me why that was something that they had to do. And that was just a choice that the leaders of this writer's workshop chose to do as far as introductions. But I explained to her my knowledge of preferred pronouns. We did some looking up online. We talked about it. And so now she understands that. And we move on from that. But that is something that it was based off of. She experienced that. And that was something that I did not even think to introduce to her because it is not on my radar. So it's like anything else. I know that my girls are going to experience a lot in life. And I can say, here you go. I'm going to teach you all of these things in case you come across them. I kind of treat that like it's Pandora's box. Sometimes we don't need to introduce things to our children at a specific age simply because they may come across that at that age. I will leave you with this. I had a woman tell me that I should teach my girls about specific things because children in the public school system were learning about those things. And I'm not talking things in a textbook, y'all. I'm talking about life experiences. And I had to stop her and say, no, ma'am, I do not teach my children according to the world. I teach them according to God's word. And when the time is right, when God tells me that the time is right, when my girls have reached a maturity level and he says, okay, now is the time, that is how I follow. I hope this was helpful for you guys. See y'all next time.